Premium luggage that's not just an accessory, but a companion on your journey. Briggs & Riley believes in luggage so deeply, they've crafted it to last for life. Guaranteed. At Briggs & Riley, any broken part will be repaired. Every stitch, every wheel, even every zipper. With our new line of Simpatico luggage, you can pack 34% more. Then compress your luggage so it fits perfectly into your overhead bin. Briggs & Riley. Travel uninterrupted. Learn more and choose your color at briggs-riley.com.
Welcome into the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball. Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill. We're back in a kind of comfortable format for us, which is where all three of us are in different locations. And Sam, once again, is in a hotel. Ben's in a conference room at MLB HQ in New York City. And dudes, you're both looking fantastic on this Zoom screen today. How are you?
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. I am in Kodak, Tennessee right now. I've been bopping all over the place. It's funny, like people who listened to this show last week heard you and me in the same place,
Yeah.
which is always a joy.
Three time zones away from where you are currently.
Yeah. We were in Bellingham, Washington last week for the West Coast League All-Star Game. I did the Appalachian League All-Star Game on Tuesday. I'm currently in Kodak to see the Tennessee Smokies. You'll hear a little bit more about that later, including with an interview. My first time here, and I actually and we'll talk about this later as well, but I just got back from a trip to see their new stadium in Knoxville. So a lot of moving and grooving. 'Tis the season for that. And I mean, Ben, you're going to be moving and grooving here real soon.
Yeah, definitely moving. I'm not sure about how much grooving, that's something you can't really plan for, but I hope it happens to really be grooving in addition to the moving. Yeah, I'm in the office today, but I had a couple days off last week. In-season vacations are new to me, but now that I have a kid, I do that a little bit. So got back to the office for a few days. And tomorrow morning, bright and early, flying to Wilmington, North Carolina, and then driving to Kinston to see the Down East Wood Ducks. We were just talking about the weather before we started taping, and doesn't look good tomorrow, but something I've always done on my road trips is try not to pay attention to the weather, because once I got that itinerary booked, I just got to go and roll with it. So fingers crossed, say a prayer. There'll be good weather in Kinston to start that road trip, and then I'll be on the road mostly in North Carolina the whole remainder of the week. I don't think I've seen Sam Dykstra in the office for like 3.5 months at this point.
I think it was opening day. Was that the last time I saw you, Ben? It's been a heck of a season since then.
Sometime around then. We're just like strangers in the night, ships in the night, strange ships in the night. It's just
strangers on ships in the night.
Strangers on ships.
I do remember that at the beginning of the season, Ben kind of had like a tentative date for when he was going to Kinston. And I was like, man, I should really go out there at the same time because it's my favorite ballpark on the planet. I love Kinston, North Carolina. I just want to see it one more time, hosting a minor league game. And then we blinked and it was the end of July and I did nothing to like book a ticket or go out there or do anything. I don't know how it's the last week in July. I really don't. Every year we get to the middle of the season, I'm like, how did this happen? We've done this podcast for what, 8 years now? Every year I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that time, right? Like the season keeps happening and happening and happening, and you're just like, all right, we're in this cycle.
Yeah.
Of there's always baseball. I'm like, wait, baseball is finite. It's not an endless summer.
Right. So we're getting there. We are getting to this point in the 2024 minor league baseball season, and we got a bunch to talk about on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Wherever you found us, thanks for tuning in. You can get in touch with us, of course, podcast at milb.com. If you've got any questions about the minor league season or prospects, trade deadlines coming up, we're going to be talking about that here in a little bit with Sam. But we are going to kick things off with Ben telling us about this North Carolina trip. You are going to see the last iteration of the Down East Wood Ducks, who are moving to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and they will be swapping places in the Texas Rangers minor league system with another affiliate, the Hickory Crawdads, at the A-ball level. But Ben, give us a rundown of what you're hoping to experience if the rain holds off in Kinston, and what this rearranged landscape looks like for the Rangers.
Yeah, let's start with that because it sounds convoluted, but it's pretty simple. If you saw a tweet this week, like South Atlanta League and Carolina League realignment, it might have gotten you thinking that there's a lot going on, but not really. The single A Carolina League, the high A South Atlantic League, they both have Rangers affiliates in them. Right now, it's the Down East Wood Ducks in Kinston in the single A Carolina League and the Hickory Crawdads in the high A South Atlantic League. Next year, when the Wood Ducks move to a new ballpark in Spartanburg, South Carolina, where they will play as the Hub City Spartanburgers, that team will swap with the Hickory Crawdads. So next season, we will have Hub City Spartanburgers in the high A South Atlantic League with the Hickory Crawdads dropping a rung from the South Atlantic League down to the Carolina League, where they will be a single A team. So, some bookkeeping. It's a little bit dry information, but it's important to know, obviously. It's just a swap of Rangers affiliates. And, we were talking before we went on the air about, why that was, and don't necessarily have inside information on this, but you just think that the Rangers organization would want higher level prospects in the brand new ballpark is I think the best guess for what's going on there. But it's a fairly small change overall. Just an affiliate swap. One goes down a level, one goes up, but it'll basically be the same. But yes, for now, the Kinston-based Down East Wood Ducks at Granger Stadium in the Carolina League are playing their final season. And so that was one of the teams I definitely wanted to visit this year. Tyler mentioned it's one of its favorite ballparks. It's one of the oldest ballparks in the country, going back to just after World War II, I believe it opened sometime around 1946. Great history there, the kind of ballpark that once it's gone from the minor league landscape, you're not going to see the likes of it again. So it's sad, very simple facility. They've added some group areas out in the outfield and whatnot, but at its core, it's just one of those old school ballparks, covered grandstand, real intimate environment, concourse outside, on the back end of the ballpark, not with a view of the field, but just a lot of charm and a lot of history. And, I've been in touch with some Down East front office staff members, and they've let me know that this season is the Foul Well Tour. It's a great play on words. It doesn't necessarily roll off the tongue, but they're the Wood Ducks. So this is their Foul Well Tour. Foul Well.
It is one of those places too. We don't have any, inside info on this, but it is one of those places that you hope will find life, maybe in a collegiate summer league or something beyond this season. But it is when the Kinston Indians, the previous iteration of a minor league team, left before the Wood Ducks came back in with affiliated ball. That was the status for Kinston, and I know they host some collegiate national championship stuff. There's a lot that will hopefully keep Granger Stadium vibrant in the years to come. But, Kinston is a type of place that is somewhat vanishing off of the affiliated minor league map. But as Sam and I saw last week in Bellingham, Washington, there's so much baseball across the country that is still serving these communities, which is really cool. And a place that is going to be served now by affiliated ball is Spartanburg with this brand new ballpark and that change in the levels in the Rangers system. And that's exciting. It's an exciting next step for Rangers prospects, obviously. And, you could be somebody that this year is playing for Down East, and then next year you could be playing for technically the same franchise, but you'll be up a level having made the jump to high A.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it's the same franchise technically, but not really anymore with the switch. And Tyler, you made another great point that I would like to think that Granger Stadium has a future post minor league baseball. There is precedent for that in that interim period between the departure of the Kinston Indians and the arrival of the Wood Ducks. And like you said, there's so much baseball, and I wish I could explore more of it. And you guys got to it out there in Bellingham, but most of the ballparks are teams that disappear from the affiliated level. Most, not all, find a way to continue on. So there's just so much baseball out there. And even though we're focused on the minors, I'm proudly focused on the minors, affiliated minor league baseball, capital M minor league baseball. We support and love all baseball here on the Show Before the Show podcast. Controversial take, and disagree if you want to, but that's my stance.
Yeah, I mean, coming off the Appy League game this week, it was in Johnson City, Tennessee, about an hour and a half, 2 hours east of here. And one thing that stood out to me was, I was there doing the game with Rick Ankiel, who played for the Johnson City Cardinals, and he was what it used to be, and hearing about what the baseball atmosphere is like as the Johnson City Doughboys in the Summer Collegiate League, and they're still bringing out 3,000, 4,000 people to a game. It is still an event in that town to go to that ballpark. Next year, they're investing with a full turf field. Right now, it's turf on the infield, grass on the outfield. So there's still being investments made in those leagues, and people like seeing good baseball. I mean, you bring somebody like Rentaro Sasaki to the diamond, people are going to show up, but people are showing up regardless of who's there. They're learning about these guys at different points of their journey. And that's, it's all encompassing in the
Sam, I
baseball
just
atmosphere.
want to ask real quick, did you feel the need to sing Wagon Wheel as you pulled into Johnson City? That's my only real, like, obviously outside of baseball, it's the only thing I know about Johnson City is it's in that song.
I had it in my head all week and I resisted actually playing it. It probably would have helped.
It would have set the
By the
tone
way,
up.
I would play the Old Crow Medicine Show. No,
Yeah, no Hootie. No Hootie.
Nothing against Darius Rucker, but like people were trying to say, oh, they play the Darius Rucker song.
No.
It's a cover.
No.
I'm sorry.
Terrible.
It's a good cover, but like Old Crow Medicine Show did a very good version of that song to begin with that made Darius Rucker want to cover it. So.
Ben, your thoughts?
I don't think I have anything else to add there. Yeah, I mean, I know the song. It's funny how doing this job so long that you try to write headlines, make references that people get, and sometimes you just like, oh boy, Johnson City. I'm gonna have to reference a wagon wheel in this headline or in the intro. Oh, I'm going to San Jose. Do you know the way to San Jose? Whatever that song is.
You go to Albuquerque, you have to make sure you take the correct turns, that type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I like references. I like pop culture. I like songs. I'm on board with all of it.
Ben, it's always a little bit weird, I would imagine, for you when you're going into a place that is aware of the fact that it is its final minor league season, which you've done before. How do you tackle that, especially in a place like Kinston, where, as we noted a moment ago, we're probably not going to see affiliated minor league ball again. There's, in one sense, there is a sensitivity I would think that you kind of have to, these are people who are, on the one hand, losing their affiliated team. On the other hand, that community has been through it before. And as we noted, they found their last baseball chapter, which might be their next baseball chapter in collegiate summer league ball. How do you tackle that?
Yeah, it can be dicey sometimes, especially, what we do, writing for the official websites. We're not going to go out there and just lead a whole story with a bunch of people angrily ranting about the loss of the team or anything. Some situations are easier than others. Some places, I think the community understands pretty well why the change is being made. Other times they're pretty angry. In my career, I think visiting Pawtucket and when they were getting the word that they were going to relocate, that was one that had a lot of anger and a lot of contention about leaving McCoy Stadium for what was originally Providence, but ended up years later after a long saga being Worcester. But my angle, though, and I don't try to be disingenuous with it, but is just a celebration of this place, what it was and what it meant to people. And I think that's really what I try to do. Totally understand if people are upset. I mean, hey, if we lived in Kinston, we'd be definitely sad about this. Being sad is okay in this situation, of course. So, try to capture, the sense of the bittersweet feeling, the sense of loss, but make it more a celebration of this is what this place is. This is what this place was. And I do take, seriously the responsibility to, capture that and have it be a record of this place, in its waning days, to say this is what it looked like and to be able to look back on that years later. I think is a pretty important thing. That's something I've realized about my work as the years have gone on, when I was just cranking stuff out and hating to read my own stuff and just like, get this away from me. Now I'm like, man, this is actually important. Looking back, like some ballpark that's been defunct for 15 years that I visited way at the beginning of my career, that's an important record. So I try to keep that in mind now and not realize it later.
That's very valuable. It really is. It's kind of an archive of these things. And for communities that are transitioning baseball wise, it is important to have that stuff. And all right, well, we're going to continue the travel theme in the southeast portion of the United States with Sam Dykstra, who, as he noted, is in Kodak, Tennessee. And Sam, the Tennessee Smokies in a period of transition, and probably a pretty cool time to be around this franchise, get a chance to see the new ballpark, all of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. like Ben was saying, it's an interesting time to be here because on one hand you have Kodak and this surrounding area that is essentially losing a team. It honestly reminds me of New Britain and Hartford from a few years ago. New Britain had the Rockcats. They were moving to Hartford, becoming the Yard Goats. From far away, you think like, well, it's just a trip up 91. Rockcats fans can still be Yard Goats fans. They can still go to the game. But Ben, you were at the final New Britain game ever, and there were fans there being like, I don't want to travel as much to go see that team. For here, it's the same story. They are moving to a bigger city, the city that is kind of the hub of this area, Knoxville, Tennessee, specifically East Knoxville. And talking to some folks about what that transition is going to be like. You go out here, it's right off the highway. It's right near a Buc-ee's, which if you accidentally hear me chomping on anything, I have a big bag of beaver nuggets to my right here. But it's right down the road. It's about a 20-minute drive, I think, to Dollywood. People go into Pigeon Forge, a big tourist location. So there is some pride in having the team here. Moving it to Knoxville, it's going to change to more clientele of maybe college kids, people who go to UT. You're looking for something to do as school's winding down in the spring or picking up in the fall, or people who are just hanging out around campus during the summer. It's going to be slightly different clientele. But I think that could be beneficial in a way. You want these ballparks. You think of places like Charlotte, you think of places like Columbus that are in the centers where the people are. And I got this morning, I went down to see where the new stadium will be in Knoxville. It's about 65% complete so far. Everybody with the team is confident that it will be ready for opening day in mid-April. I don't think the schedule's out yet, but the Smokies will open up a little bit on the road. I think the first 9 games will be on the road just to give them a little bit of a buffer. But all the concrete seems poured. I got to walk through the home clubhouse, the visiting clubhouse, the dugouts, the press box, all of that stuff. And it's like really kind of right in the thick of it there in Knoxville. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to come together. One thing that I immediately had my interest peaked was they're going to get a new scoreboard in right field there in Knoxville, and it's going to be in the shape of Tennessee, which I am a giant sucker for that. Obviously, this
cool.
this state has a history of big,
Cool
notable
shaped
scoreboards.
scoreboards. Yeah.
Yeah, Nashville with the guitar. Ben, I think back to when you visited Texas, and there's a Texas-sized scoreboard down there, Texas-sized and Texas-shaped.
Yeah, in Sugarland.
In Sugarland, right. So now Tennessee getting its own version of that, and the Tennessee shape fits that so well, being long and horizontal. I'm really excited to see that come together. But yeah, it's going to be a new era of Tennessee Smokies baseball. I'm going back to Smoky Stadium tonight. Just maybe might check in with some folks about like what it feels like to leave that place, because you walk in, and Ben, you probably remember this. It says the world's friendliest ballpark.
Yeah.
And everybody there was incredibly nice to me and to each other. I was at Wednesday's game and it got banged, so like nobody actually got to see a game, but it was all you can eat Wednesday, so there were tons of people still there, and everybody was being helpful on the way out of like, how can I answer your question? You look confused. I can tell you when the game's rescheduled. Here's your voucher. Here's everything. Making sure everybody got home okay. Leaving the parking lot was super easy because there were dozens of attendants pointing the way out, lighting the journey out of the parking lot. So they run a really good ship here. It's going to be a new era, but I can definitely understand people who might be a little sad that Smoky Stadium will end in 2024.
All right, Sam, we've got a conversation from Tennessee on the docket for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Tee it up for us.
Yeah, so I spoke to Matt Shaw, who was the Cubs' first-round pick last year, a top 100 prospect, really rocketed his way through the system for the Cubs, was in Double-A at the end of last year, has been at Double-A all season this time. He can hit for power, he can hit for average, he's playing third base, but they're mixing in some shortstop, some second base with him as well. It's just a super exciting prospect for the Cubs. The Cubs are an interesting time, I think, right now. I think a lot of people thought they were going to be more competitive in the NL Central this year. That hasn't been the case. They might be slight sellers at the deadline and build out what's already a strong farm system. But Matt Shaw is a key component of that farm system. So we talk about what it was like going through the draft last year, what he's learned about himself at Double A so far, and what he's looking forward to the rest of the way in 2024.
This summer, get away in the Hyundai you've always wanted at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get the hottest deals of the season on many of our award-winning Hyundai models, which all come with America's best warranty. But get going, because these deals won't last. Add more joy to your journey at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get 0% APR for 60 months or up to $7,500 total savings on the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Hurry into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offers end September 3rd. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Okay, real talk. After you buy a new house or a car, you're usually swirling in excitement. The pure joy mixed with a little bit of overwhelm because it's a big purchase and really mixed in with that joy. The words that you want to be thinking about are, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That's the phrase that will help you feel good knowing you have people who care to help you file a claim or find the coverage for the things that you want to protect. And listen, sometimes the topic of insurance can get a little bit overwhelming, but it really doesn't have to be complicated because, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So with those big new purchases like that car, that house, you want to be thinking about long-term coverage and protect the things that you love. And the key here is being able to customize. State Farm has the options to fit your unique needs, which means you can talk to your agent to get the coverage you need and have coverage options to protect the things you value most. Plus, you can file a claim right in the State Farm mobile app and reach a real person when you need to talk to someone, which is super key these days. So when you need help protecting the things that matter most, remember to say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Well, Matt, I just wanted to start. It's draft season. Guys are starting to sign. The process just happened, a week ago. What do you remember about your experience going through that last year?
Yeah, I remember being really excited. I remember being excited to kind of finally get ready to start playing, and I think that's kind of, I'm sure, where most of those guys are at. They had some time off, they get drafted, and then it's like, all right, let's start playing ball again. Let's start running a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were your nerves like going into the night, and how much did you think you were on the Cubs' radar?
Yeah, nerves-wise, I was just really excited. It's such a cool opportunity. I really wasn't nervous at all. I think I was just excited, and God willing, wherever I ended up was going to be the right place, and I think it was. Obviously now that I've been with the Cubs for a year, so I think everything worked out perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what advice do you have for guys going through this now, where it's kind of you've been drafted, you have to wait to sign, and then you start your career?
It's you get to play a lot, you get to play every day, and I think just really enjoy it. I think there's a lot of external pressures that can be on guys, but if you just enjoy it, same game, you just go out there and play, which most of these guys, that's the reason they got drafted. It's because they were able to kind of push out the pressures and just play. And I think just taking that mindset into every day is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what was the transition like for you? What do you remember as your welcome to pro ball moment?
Welcome to pro ball moment is probably facing 3 side armor bullpen relievers in a row and just being like, oh man, you just kind of don't get a break. But that was kind of my welcome to Double A moment too, where it's just 3 side armors and those not always very easy to hit off of. So having a couple in a row is it's a lot.
Yeah. The Cubs got aggressive with you because obviously they liked what they saw enough early on. What was that like, getting pushed to Double A as quickly as you were?
Yeah, it was great. That's all I could ask for. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to move up. I wanted to continue to play baseball at a high level against really great players, and I think just being able to experience that from the jump and now continue to experience it for a full season is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned side armors and dealing with different types of stuff. How did you feel like guys were attacking you early on, where they haven't seen you yet, but you're a first rounder, you kind of have a target on your back in that way?
Guys are just trying to stick to their plans as well, just like I'm trying to stick to mine. So if the guy's good at throwing sinkers in, he's going to throw sinkers in. I think that's one thing that's important to know is, yes, they have a lot of information and they're going to kind of attack to your weaknesses. But at the same time, they also have to stick to their plan. So there's a fine line between kind of selling out everything for, okay, this is what this guy's going to do, and also understanding yourself and being like, okay, this is what he's going to try to do to me in particular. So there's a little bit of a balance. There's always kind of that cat and mouse game that goes back and forth.
Yeah, when you get to Double A, how close do you feel, even this early in your career?
Yeah, it's funny. Someone asked me this the other day, and And when you're going through it and you're in the minor league baseball and you're traveling to Mississippi and Birmingham and a bunch of random places, you really don't feel all that close. But at the same time, it's good when you can step back and kind of look at it from an external perspective. You kind of realize, wow, like you are really close, and you see other guys. Birmingham just had a guy move up to the big leagues who we played against 3 weeks ago. So that little things like that make you realize like things can change very quickly.
Yeah, somebody like Skeen's making it already and making it to the All-Star game. I know he's one of one in some degree, but what is it like seeing a guy from your class get up that quick?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, we've had a few guys. We've had Shanuel, we've had Skeens, we've had Langford. A lot of really talented players that are successful big leaguers right now. And that's great for young guys being like, hey, yeah, it's possible. If you're willing to believe in us, obviously it shows. Those guys are great players as well. So it's kind of like a little bit from both ends. Like you give us a little bit of that kind of leeway to go play, and we'll do our best to perform.
Yeah, and what have the Cubs done with you specifically to develop you? What are you doing differently than you were doing in Maryland?
I think one of the biggest development pieces is just playing a lot of games. I think that's. Most players who really develop are the ones that really care about it, that kind of take it upon themselves to put in work and go in the cages, go on the field, etc. So I think just having the opportunity to play every day, having the opportunity to have coaches around that are willing to help you, I think that's kind of what players at this level need the most. Not as much as they need guys, people to push them, but they just need people to be around that are willing to help. People that have information and you can kind of bounce back and forth ideas and just continue to go forward.
Yeah, and speaking of that information, what do you feel like has been the most helpful piece of information?
I think one of the most helpful pieces of information has been, I don't know, we have so much information, so it's hard to kind of pinpoint one. We're always making adjustments. Yeah, I wouldn't say one in particular has been, the biggest game changer, but, maybe, I don't know.
No, totally fair. Well, you talk about making adjustments, looking at your numbers. It seems like you've kind of taken off a bit after June. There's a little bit of a dead period there in May. What's changed since then?
I got a little bit more connected. I think sometimes when you're playing a ton of games, you can kind of get, not necessarily lazy, but you can kind of get very comfortable. And I think that was just an adjustment for me, where college you only play 60 games and it's kind of a sprint. Whereas this is you play a lot more games, so it's like, your body gets comfortable. You get a little more comfortable in that Wednesday game in the box, so it's like, it's actually finding ways to kind of make readjustments based on how you're feeling and being able to stay a little bit more focused sometimes when you can kind of let yourself kind of get out of rhythm a little bit.
So is that what you were feeling? You were like out of rhythm at the plate, or is it?
I would say I was feeling a little bit disconnected at the plate mechanically, like just a little bit, getting a little bit. Yeah, disconnect is the best way to frame it. I talked to my hitting coach back at University of Maryland, Matt Swope, and we talked about a few things to help me to get back to being connected, and that was super helpful. And I think after that moment, it just kind of started to get back in a rhythm of things, get back feeling like myself, and that's kind of how baseball goes. So it was kind of fun to experience that and kind of have a few more little bits of information that I can use now, so that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, are you somebody who goes back and looks at video to find how you're disconnected, or are you more on feel?
More feeling for sure, like you could feel it, and then going back and talking with Matt and finding little things that are going to help me to stay connected for the long run.
Yeah, and you've played a lot more shortstop, it feels like, lately. I saw you working out there before. What has it been like moving back to that position, getting a little bit more time there?
It's great. I mean, getting to play short, getting to play second, getting to play third. I'm really enjoying it. I think finally I feel 100% comfortable at every position. And moving around there is, no longer something that worries me. I just feel very comfortable, and I think that was a really important goal for me coming into this season, was be comfortable at third, be a good third baseman, be comfortable at short, be comfortable at second, and just, whatever position I'm playing in the lineup that day, I can go out there and be a good position player.
Yeah, and how did that conversation go when they were like, we want to move you around again more often after playing a lot of third earlier in there?
Yeah, I mean, that was great. I think, part of it is just kind of personnel-wise, like, we have a few third basemen, we have a few second basemen, we have one or two shortstops. One of them's hurt, so I got to come in. When we give our shortstop off day now, I got to play short, maybe 1 or 2 days a week. Similar with second, when James was, Kevin was out in center, so James had to play center. Then I'm coming to play in second. So I think it's a little bit of personnel-wise, and then I'm still playing probably 4 out of the 6 games at third in the week. So still playing majority there, which is nice.
Yeah. Do you think of yourself as a third baseman then, or like just kind of a catch-all infielder?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I can play every infield position, and I really like third base a lot. So I like all of them. So I don't think there's any reason to say like I am a third baseman. But if I'm playing third that night, then yeah, I am a third baseman.
Yeah, no, fair enough. What do you like most about third then? Do you like that all?
What I like a lot about third is I can move through everything. You know, there's a few balls that are really smoked now and then, but most balls are chopped. Most balls are hit a little slower, jam shots, and I can move through everything, which I really like.
Yeah, and you got to participate in the Futures game. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was awesome. Really awesome. Such a cool event. Really great players. Got to be there with James and Moises, 2 other Cubs guys, which was awesome. But overall, just a great event. You get to hang out with a couple of Hall of Famers and a really awesome big leaguers. So it's a really cool event to be part of.
Was there anybody either on the prospect side or the coaching side you sought out most?
I talked to Adrian Beltre a little bit, honestly a little bit about defense, a little bit about off-season routine, stuff like that, and a little bit about offense too. And it was really nice to talk to guys like that. I think in the baseball world, you start to kind of see some connections and some similarities between really successful players. So just being able to make those connections and then take it into your everyday work is important.
Yeah, I mean, there's never a better time to talk to Beltre, I'm sure.
No.
What did he tell you about defense at third?
Defense, I mean, he told me like his unique style of play, what he did, how he learned how to be himself at third base, and I think that was kind of one of the important things is like learning what works for you and then using that to your advantage. He was someone who he liked to kind of be in the ground a little more, not moving around as much. I'm a guy that really likes to be on the run, but it was nice to know like he was like, yes, this is how I learned how to be myself, and then I use that to my advantage when I was playing third. And if you have something that you can use to be yourself and use that to your advantage, then that's what I'm going to do. So it was kind of like figuring out just kind of who you are in the game and what makes it work.
Mm-hmm. So he wasn't saying like, this is how I do it, this is how you do it to get to Cooperstown.
Exactly.
It was more about being flexible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what is your approach in a game like that? Because it's a showcase event, there's a lot of attention paid, you're trying to show off how good you've been through the first half. How do you kind of approach a game like that?
Yeah, I mean, you just kind of have fun. You realize that at the end of the day, it's not really going to matter that much when it comes to, your season statistics or all that stuff. So it's a game you can go have fun, you can take some good swings, you meet a lot of great players, meet great coaches, and I think that's kind of the biggest part is being around like just great major league players and being able to put all these great players in the same area there is cool.
Yeah, because I kind of wanted to ask about your first at bat. You went up 3-0 and then you swung 3-0. Was that just I want to show them what my swing can do? Or
yeah, I mean you're up 3-0 in a futures game and it's like you might as well take a swing. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of the moment there where it's like, if it's anywhere close, I'm probably going to swing. I'm not win, lose, draw, whatever, let's take a swing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And you grew up a Red Sox fan. I've heard you try to emulate Dustin Pedroia a little bit. In what ways do you try to do that?
Yeah, I mean, just being an all-around player, I think is like the biggest thing. Realizing there's value in every aspect of the game. Not trying to be just a hitter, not trying to be just a fielder or a base runner, but valuing all those things equally and being like, I want to focus on every part of my game. And I think, this year defensively has been something that has benefited a lot from that mindset of like, hey, I'm going to care a lot about defense and I'm going to try to do everything I can to be a great defender. You don't want to have any, major holes in your game. You just want to be an all-around defender, an all-around player. And I think that's something that Pedroia did really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you learn more about the Cubs organization, what have you learned about not only the organization, but the fans as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have great fans. We have fans that care a lot, that know a lot about all the players. And I think that's really cool in the Cubs organization. I think that's, unique to a few teams in the league, but they have a really good fan base and a really good organization.
Yes, and as somebody who might play in Wrigley someday, how does that compare to Fenway?
They're similar. Boston got a little more attitude, I think, with their fans, whereas Wrigley fans seem to show up and support no matter what. Maybe a little bit of that Midwestern, friendliness. But, I think they both have great fan bases, and they're both coming out to support their team, and that's huge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what is the environment like in the clubhouse right now, just in terms of the trade deadline coming next week? A lot of people expect the Cubs to maybe be sellers, so maybe they'll bring in some AA guys. But what is it like going through this kind of for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. Moves are happening, people are moving. I think the worst thing for a minor leaguer is to be in a stagnant organization that's not doing anything. I think that can be really frustrating because you're looking around like nobody's moving, we're all playing well. That's your goal, is to continue to move and continue to grow. And sometimes in other orgs it's very stagnant, you might not feel that. But I think, right now, we've made a lot of moves, a lot of, at least internally, like AA on. We've moved a lot of guys up to AAA, etc. So it's just an exciting time for a lot of us, and we look forward to the next week. I don't think anyone is nervous. I don't think anyone is worried. I think we're all just excited.
And you mentioned AAA there. Is it a goal of yours to get to Iowa before the year's up?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's always a goal to continue to move up and grow and get to a higher position and play in the major leagues. I don't think any single one of these guys would be upset if they got moved up.
Yeah. Is there anything you feel like you have to do then to prove like you are ready to get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just you continue to play and play well, and when the opportunity is right and when everything's ready, you move up. I think it's a little bit part of God's overall plan for me and for the guys. So, I think it's just being patient, and when that time comes, I think we're all ready. I don't think there's anyone here who would say they don't feel ready to move up and to continue to go on. So I think it's like, when that opportunity comes, just to be ready and go take care of it.
Was that something you talked with Moises about at all? About like what Iowa's like?
Not a ton. I've talked to a few of the guys that went up to AAA, and so they're all successful up there, and it's great. So.
All right, great. That's all I had for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. All right. Have a good one.
The rest of the way.
Thanks.
When you're worried about underarm sweat and odor, it can be distracting. Like this. Or this. Or even this. It's time to silence those distractions with a spray of powerful Dove Men Plus Care Antiperspirant. Featuring our 72-hour protection and soothing 1/4 moisturizing cream. Because when you forget about your underarms, you can focus on being unforgettable. Dove Men. Forgettable underarms, unforgettable you.
It's Odyssey's AI Minute presented by Oracle. Wouldn't it be nice to have more time? According to a new report from Thomson Reuters, 77% of professionals believe AI will have transformational impact on their work. AI is expected to save workers 4 hours per week by the next year and 12 more hours per week over the next 5 years. Just think about what you can do with those 720 minutes. AI may be the most important new computer technology ever. But AI needs a lot of processing speed, and that gets expensive fast. Upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. Do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic. Take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/AIBiz. oracle.com/AIBIZ.
All right, it's time to talk some on-field stuff, and a big thanks to the Tennessee Smokies for taking such good care of Sam this week. And this is like the wildest time of it's the wildest time of the wildest time of the year for Sam. This is like the craziest like draft week, all-star games, plural, because Sam was on 2 broadcasts for all-star games. Now the trade deadline is approaching. And one thing that Sam and I discussed when we were in Bellingham, Washington last week was how excited we were to play each other in the new college football video game. And at this rate, that's not going to happen until like November.
Yeah, when the bowl games start, I think you and I can like go through each bowl game and we'll pick a side. That will be my introduction to college football 25.
It is a busy time of year for Sam Dykstra. And, of course, coming up next week is arguably the busiest day of the year for Sam Dykstra because the Major League trade deadline approaches more and more by the minute. On the 30th of July this year, the 30th of July at 6 p.m. Eastern time, that is the 2024 trade deadline. Now, according to MLB.com, quote, for many years, the deadline was always on July 31st at 4 p.m. Eastern. The commissioner's office can now set the deadline for any date between July 28th and August 3rd in an effort to avoid conflicting with games. Now, I'm not really sure how that applies this year because there's a full slate of games on July 30th. But neither here nor there. July 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern time is the deadline. Sam, there could be some massive moves this year because it feels like we have so many teams in contention for playoff berths, whether it's division titles or wild card berths. I mean, you look across the spectrum right now, the National League is far more settled, I would guess, at the tops of divisions. The smallest division lead in the National League is 6 games for the Milwaukee Brewers right now over the St. Louis Cardinals. But in the American League, the Orioles are up 1.5 games on the Yankees and 6 games on the Red Sox. The Guardians are up 5 games on the Twins and 6 games on the Royals. The Astros are up 1 game on the Mariners, 3 games on the Rangers, and don't look now, but only 8 games on the 12-game sub-500 Los Angeles Angels. I don't think the Angels are going to be making a run, especially with Mike Trout having shut down his rehab to go be reevaluated, but neither here nor there. What are the storylines that you're keeping an eye on now as we head toward the trade deadline?
Yeah, I think the big one for me, well, there are a few big ones, but the one real like earth-shattering blockbuster that could happen is if the Tigers trade Tarek Skubal. It seems like that is something they might consider because it's such a huge package of prospects that they could get back. I think some people have thrown out there, could it be like a Juan Soto level deal just because of the amount of control that you get back in Tarek Skubal, and you're getting him at a time where he's an AL Cy Young contender. If he switches leagues, that goes away, but I don't think he would mind it so much to go to a contending team in the National League. But for me, I mean, the difference is Juan Soto is younger, he's a position player, less likely to break down, all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't give a Juan Soto level deal to get Skubal. But you look at two of the contenders that need starting pitching help are the Orioles and the Dodgers. The Orioles went out and got Corbin Burns. They already have an ace, but imagine going Burns 1, Skubal 2 in the playoffs. I mean, that's huge. That's such a huge advantage for a team that should be going all in right now. And what are they resplendent in? They have hitting prospects, the Orioles do. Jackson Holliday, I know some people are very down on him after his major league time. He's still at least one of the 2 best prospects in baseball for me because he is so young. He has AAA success. He's starting to come around now. He's starting to play the field again after having some elbow issues this spring. I think the healthier he gets, the more we're going to see the regular Jackson Holliday. But like, do you cash that chip if the Tigers say, "Hey, listen, we'll do this deal for Holliday, but you get multiple years of Tarek Skubal. You're not just getting a rental." Maybe if you're the Orioles, you consider it. I don't know if I would. I would try to move like a Heston Kjerstad or a Samuel Basayo, somebody a tier down from Jackson Holliday. But like, how aggressive are the Orioles going to be getting? Because this is the time for them to get aggressive. Corbin Burns deal was a good one. It was a timely one, and they've gotten him for a full. But anybody they trade for Tarek Skubal is going to be better than what I think they gave away. And I know how good Joey Ortiz has been, but like, it would be a higher caliber of a deal, and certainly a sign from Mike Elias that he's ready to go for a World Series, not just this year, but next year as well. So that's one I'm watching. Maybe the Dodgers would do something similar. They have a lot of notable prospects for sure, like Dalton Rushing. It's difficult playing in the same organization as Will Smith, right? Like that maybe makes it a little bit easier to trade away Dalton Rushing if you're the Dodgers. Josue DePaula has a lot of trade value as well. He's a young outfielder, 19 years old, who just reached high A this season. Really strong hitter from the left side. So do the Dodgers try to cash some of their chips and get a World Series title? I know they had one in 2020, but like getting one in 2024, this would really solidify their standing as like maybe one of the modern dynasties as far as we can have one in baseball now with so much parity. So this is all to say, like, the Tigers don't have to deal Skubal. Like, they might be listening on offers, and it sounds like he's available to pitch this weekend and will pitch this weekend. But if their asking price isn't met, they get to keep Tarek Skubal for next year. And their window of contention, I thought, would be this year. It hasn't worked out that way, but maybe they put more chips on the table in the offseason and decide, no, we want Skubal at the center of what we're doing here, alongside Riley Green, who's an all-star, and they have some pieces to still build around. So I think that's a fascinating one. The other thing I'm going to be watching is what happens with the Chicago White Sox. They are clear sellers right now. Garrett Crochet definitely seems like he will be on a different team come Tuesday. But do they package him with a Luis Robert to get a spectacular blockbuster deal done? Like, do they reach out to the Dodgers, try to get something like that? In which the Dodgers would have to pay a lot of money, or not a lot of money, but a lot in prospects and a lot in players to make that happen. Do they go trade those players in separate deals? Do they hold on to Robert but trade Crochet? I mean, it's fascinating to see what the White Sox are going to do, but I think they're in a position right now. They've made some deals, in the last year, picking up guys like Drew Thorpe, Edgar Caro, Samuel Zavala, Jairo Iriarte. It's a pretty decent system right now, topped by Colson Montgomery and Noah Schultz, and then they went out and got Hagen Smith in the draft. But do they make this deal and become maybe a top 3 system in baseball? Speaking completely selfishly, because this is my job, I think that would be fascinating. It would bring a lot of hope to the South Side, because there hasn't been a lot of hope this summer. It's a lot of like, don't worry, it's coming down the line. We're developing guys. Drew Thorpe debuting is at least a hopeful sign, but getting some big blockbuster deals done and really building this system out, and maybe even rivaling the Cubs. The Cubs have a lot of top 100 prospects in their own right. That competition between the Cubs and the White Sox for best system, I think, could be a really good thing for the Sox for the long term.
Man, I just before we talk a little bit more about this, there was a time within the last, I don't know, 5 years, you and I had a debate over who has the best pitching prospect group in all of baseball. And the White Sox were my pick, and Atlanta's group was your pick. And obviously that group has gone on to do a lot more, be a lot more successful. What has gone on to make the White Sox what they are right now? They are 27-77. And I mean, I live in a city and have long been a fan of a franchise that has been marked by a lot of ineptitude in its existence in the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies are like 11 and a half games better than the White Sox right now. Like, how did it come to the White Sox are on pace to match the 1962 Mets for the most losses in the modern era of baseball history. The Cleveland Spiders lost 134 games in 1899. That doesn't count in the modern era. The modern era is since 1900. The White Sox are arguably the worst team that we have ever seen. And I know a lot of White Sox fans who are so passionate, who are so dedicated, who I love, who I want to see have that success. And what has happened here? You know what I mean? Like, this time 5 years ago, we thought like, okay, there's a window opening for the White Sox. And not only did that window not open, they seem like they're in like a sub basement that doesn't have windows. I mean, now granted, they do have this collection of top 100 prospects, and they've got some guys on the way. They've got 4 top 100 guys, 2 of whom are in the top 20, 3 of whom are in the top 40. But like, goodness gracious, man, this has gotten so bad, and White Sox fans deserve something to be excited about.
Yeah, they definitely do. I mean, you look at the last time the White Sox were a 500 club, that was in 2022 when they were exactly 81-81. And let me just read you some of the names still on that team. Dylan Cease, who they've since traded to the Padres. That's what brought in Drew Thorpe. Jose Abreu was second on the team in baseball WAR. He moved to the Astros. That obviously didn't work. Johnny Cueto was third on the team. Like, he's just kind of aged out. Tim Anderson was on that team. He obviously has had a difficult last couple of years. Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, those guys have been dealing with injuries consistently.
Right.
They're
guys who we really thought were going to be the anchors of kind of, oh man, they're going to be back on the South Side. And those guys have not been, and obviously, like you said, due mostly to injuries than anything else, but those guys have not really been what we thought they could be.
Yeah, they were top 5 overall prospects when
Right.
they were coming up. I mean, those were supposed to be 2 cornerstones of this team, and the fact that they're not getting them for 140, 150 games a year is really hurtful. I mean, it doesn't work out great that way. Elvis Andrews was 6th on the team in WAR that year, so you can kind of see like they aged out of that window, and they haven't really backfilled in the way you would hope. So now they're in a place where they should be dealing guys. I mean, they made that clear by moving Dylan Cease
right
when they did. That way they got better prospects. Like, if they still held on to him now, I'd be interested to see what the deals would be coming in, but I don't know
you
if
know,
they would get necessarily a Drew Thorpe because there's less control there. It would be an interesting debate.
the other thing that's a bummer is like if you're a White Sox fan, you were really excited to get Garrett Crochet in 2020. You thought like, man, he's the 11th overall pick in the draft. Look at what this dude has, his stuff. He's incredible. And now, it's sort of, you look at him as, all right, well, he's got to be a piece who brings in the next pieces. And so that's sort of a bummer as well. It's exciting that you have those pieces that can be turned into hopefully the next chapter of winning. But man, I just see the White Sox and think like, oh, that fan base, they really did. I remember when they won in 2005, it was like, how cool is that for an ancient baseball team? One of the OG baseball franchises in the sport. It's very cool for those fans to get to experience that. And it really just felt like over the last 5-6 years, we were anticipating these big things, and it has gone so far the other way. And it's the opposite of piling on. We want something good for you, White Sox fans, is what we're saying. All right, Sam, my final point. I'm throwing you a curveball question here. If you were a general manager of any team in baseball and you could make the ideal trade at this deadline, like, is there something that you have an eye on that you think, oh, that'd be really interesting? What would be a move that you would make that would maybe just, I don't know, butterfly effect chaos across baseball, or just like, here's something that I think could supercharge this team and where they are right now?
So I'm making the move on behalf of another team?
You are the general manager of any team that you want to choose.
I see.
And you get to make a deal in which you can either bring back a prospect haul. So you've either got an eye on like, oh, I want this group from the Orioles, or I want this group from Atlanta, or whatever. Or you could flip it on the other side and say, hey, I'm running the ship in Baltimore. This is what I need to do to get us over the hump. What are you going with?
I think I go back to that Tarek Skubal trade. And I'm going to play it from both sides here.
Okay.
Because I want Tarek Skubal to go to Baltimore, so he can really be on a competitive team. Baltimore can really take advantage of this. Like, the more teams we have pushing into chips into the middle and really going for it, the better the sport is, I think. So yes, the expanded postseason means you can get into the playoffs with 90 wins, 88 wins. You don't need to be a 102 win juggernaut to really get your chance to make it to the World Series. We saw that last year with the Rangers and Diamondbacks. But still, you want the best possible team going into the postseason. I don't care what anybody says. So, like I said earlier, if you can go Corbin Burns game 1 and Tarek Skubal game 2, that's really difficult for any team to deal with. So I want that for the Orioles. But on the flip side, I kind of want Heston Kjerstad to get a good shot at a job. I want Samuel Basayo to get a good shot at winning, a major league opportunity. I want somebody like Connor Norby, who has kind of been on the periphery of our top 100. There's some questions about the bat in general, but like, the guy should not be in AAA anymore. The Orioles just called him up as cover for Jorge Mateo. But I want him getting a full-time opportunity. You look at like Jordan Westburg or Colton Cowser, what happened with them when they got full-time opportunities, they took it and ran with it. I want that for Norby. I want that for Kjerstad. I think they could get that in Detroit. So I want that deal to happen for both sides.
I like it. That's why he is the legendary Sam Dykstra, who is now all over your TV. You can read his stuff at MLB.com. He's the greatest for a reason. I am going to whoop him in College Football 25, but he's the greatest for a reason. And Sam Dykstra, who you can find, of course, on social media at Sam Dykstra, MILB, on the website formerly known as Twitter. And we'll step aside. Josh Jackson makes his triumphant return with Ghost of the Minors, and then we're back to wrap it up. Coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Es posible que te excites un poco cuando compres en Burlington. ¡Qué precio tan bajo! ¿Qué es eso? ¡Ah! ¡Tienen mi marca favorita! ¡Es como un Burlington completamente nuevo! ¡Ah! ¡Puedo comprar dos! ¡Wow!
¡Estoy ahorrando mucho!
Burlington te ahorras un 60% de descuento en los precios de otras tiendas todos los días. ¿Serán los precios bajos o las grandes marcas? Wow. Te encantarán las ofertas. Te encantará Burlington. ¡Burlington! Te lo dije. Los estilos y selecciones varían por tienda.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in radio land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once made a name for himself. The others are names I made for them. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Joe Rabbit. B. Charlie Rue. C. Petey Toter. Let's hop to it. A. Joe Rabbit is the choice you should have landed on. All of you listeners who were avid fans of the 1922 Cleveland American League Club jumped right on top of this one. It was with that team that Rabbit got his 3 major league at-bats across 2 games. But Rabbit bounced around the minors for much longer, playing in nearly 1,500 professional games between 1918 and 1932. Rabbit was a real speedster, as befitting his name. In fact, he shared another characteristic with bunnies. Those 4-legged furballs are known for their insatiable appetites. So too was Rabbit. In 1916, the teenage Kansan made the local newspaper for showing up at a pie social and proceeding to shock all in attendance by eating 5 pieces of pie. The Pittsburgh, Kansas Sun reported, "The party was on intimate terms until Joe Rabbit induced the rest of the party that he was some pie devourer. After his 5th piece, he appeared at the pie counter again with intentions of purchasing some more of the delicious pastry. But alas, Joe was disappointed. The last piece had been sold." But Rabbit got his cake and ate it too when he broke through in the pros at age 18, initially signing with the Western League's Hutchinson Club. That's right, the Rabbit was headed to the Hutch in April, breaking hearts of the semi-pro club in Pittsburgh. That year, Hutchinson moved to Oklahoma City and Rabbit ran off, then popped up in a few games with the Sioux City team in the same loop. It's tough to say for sure if our Joe Rabbit was the same, or perhaps even a relative of, the Joe Rabbit who did some amateur boxing in southeastern Kansas in those years, but it seems likely that the baseball-playing Rabbit had some punch. He was, by all accounts, an extraordinary athlete. In late August of 22, when Rabbit was playing for the Muskogee Mets and just a few weeks away from appearing with Tris Speaker's Big League Club, the team had some pregame fun in the form of a track and field event. Rabbit, so the team claimed, was timed running to first base in 3 2/5 seconds, as well as racing all the way around the bases in 14 1/5 seconds. Maybe those Rabbit runs were accurately timed, and maybe they weren't, but there can be not hide nor hair of a doubt about this fact reported by the Muskogee Daily Phoenix and Times-Democrat. The little Fleetfoot was also voted the most handsome ball player on the field. He put together a great-looking career, too, continuing to make his speed an asset straight through 1931. The same age as the century, Rabbit ran out the next year, getting cut by the International League's Buffalo Bisons, managed by Ray Schalk, that spring, and never finding his footing with a couple teams in the New York Penn League. And that's how Father Time trapped Rabbit. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these teams had good fortune in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Tullamore Clovers. B. The Reedsville Luckies. C, the Mississippi Queen Aces? Want to know the answer? Take a chance. Or tune into the next Ghosts of the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is going ballooning, and I've got to give him some hot air.
Wrapping up this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Tremendous thanks to the one and only Joshua W. Jackson for returning to the Show Before the Show airwaves today. Joe Rabbit, who I was very excited could potentially be the answer, and makes me want to go watch Jojo Rabbit. Joe Rabbit was the answer for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. And I enjoy not only the name, but more than that, I very much enjoy all of the rabbit jokes in this week's episode of Ghosts. All right, before we get out of here, it is time for Name That Dude. I am the dude chooser this week, and you guys are the dude guessers. You ready? Ready to guess this dude? We need to come up with like a theme song for Name That Dude.
You're the producer here, so yeah. Find a song,
producer,
Tyler.
but I have no talent. I have no musical talent or anything. I feel like there was a very short time where we had a Ben's Biz theme song. Ben like freelanced a little theme. I think this was in the inaugural season of the Show Before the Show podcast, and we used it like once or twice. And then our former overseer of the Show Before the Show, Brendan DeRochers, was like, "Yeah, don't use that anymore." We're like, "Okay."
I don't even remember that.
Really?
We gotta
I
take
think
that
I
out.
still have it saved. Maybe
please.
if I have it, I'm gonna cut it into the Show Before the Show right now.
Oh, please do that. I want to hear it. Yeah. My name is Ben's Biz, and I am a whiz at bringing you all the news. So stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin, and now I'm singing Humpty Dance.
Okay, here is this week's dude. Da-na-na-na-na. Time for Name That Dude. Okay, a 9th round draft selection in 2003 by the New York Yankees out of J.W. Mitchell High School in Newport Richey, Florida. Or Richey? R-I-C-H-E-Y? I don't know. He made his debut that very summer in the rookie-level Gulf Coast League with the GCL Yankees in 2003. Man, I'm just now realizing we're the exact same age. He is 4 months and 1 week older than me. Okay. He was doing much cooler things in the summer of 2003 than I was, getting ready to go to my freshman year of college. The next season, made the climb to the Midwest League's Battle Creek Yankees in Battle Creek, Michigan. And then the following year, in 2005, he made 3 stops in the minors, jumping over Double-A. He made 1 appearance with the Charleston River Dogs, 26 appearances with the then Class A Advanced Tampa Yankees. 25 of those were starts. Now you know he's a pitcher. And he also pitched in 1 game in relief for the Columbus Clippers at AAA. That was kind of a short-lived thing because in the next season, he was back at the Double-A level. 28 starts with the Trenton Thunder in 2006. 2007, finally made his major league debut with the New York Yankees after 6 games with Trenton and 14 games with the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Yankees at that point. Not the Rail Riders and not the Red Barons. Starting in 2008, he was a member of the Washington Nationals organization. He spent some time with the Columbus Clippers, who were at that point a Nationals affiliate. They, of course, had been a Yankees affiliate for a really long time, including in 2005 when he made his first minor AAA appearance in the minor leagues. Pitched for the Nats. In 2008, he was with Syracuse, which was the Nationals AAA affiliate in 2009. And then he was in the big leagues all the way until 3 appearances with, once again, the Columbus Clippers, who were then a Cleveland affiliate in 2019. So he pitched for the Columbus Clippers with 3 different parent clubs at various stops in his career.
That'd be an interesting thing to track down.
Yeah, how weird is that?
Same team with 3 different affiliations.
I can't imagine that has happened very often, especially at the AAA level. Seems like it would happen far less. It would be far less likely. But parts of 10 seasons in the minor leagues, 16 seasons in the major leagues, a 20-year big league career that actually just ended in 2022 back with the Nationals. Sam looks very pensive, very thoughtful in this.
It just ended in 2022.
Yeah. He throughout his
boy.
time in the big leagues, he pitched for the Nationals, the Yankees, the Diamondbacks, the Twins, the Mets, the A's, the Indians, the Astros, the Blue Jays, and the White Sox.
Wow.
10 different teams for this reliable, we'll just say pitcher, because I don't want to narrow it down to, man, actually at the big league level, he only made 14 starts. The minor league level, he made of his 207 games, he made 133 starts. The big league level, 807 games he pitched in, and only 14 of those were starts.
Oh, man. Guys who would have retired like 2 years ago.
The tricky one.
When you started talking, I was thinking of Jason Grilli for some reason,
Ooh,
but
that's a good guess.
But he didn't pitch for that many teams.
Now here is a tie-in. Jason Grilli pitched in the World Baseball Classic. So did this guy. Now, not for the same team. Jason Grilli pitched for Italy in the World Baseball Classic.
Tyler Clippard?
It is Tyler Clippard. Holy smokes, he got it. Goodness gracious, Samuel, nice work.
The good thing about like holding my head with my hands throughout that is that you can see that I'm not looking anything up.
Yeah, that's true. Nice work.
You know what I mean? Like I'm exasperated it was the World Baseball Classic that tipped me off, because I was just like, who are randos who pitched in the World Baseball Classic?
You remember him mouthing, "Oh my God," after Adam Jones made the catch at the wall to rob Manny Machado in San Diego.
Precisely so. Yes, that's exactly what came.
One of the coolest moments in baseball history to me.
Yeah, but Sam, if we could zoom out, we'd see you with your toes up on the desk, typing one letter at a time.
Also, I did not know this, and maybe you guys did. This is one of those things that I'm like, should I even admit that I didn't know this? Because I feel like I should have known this. Do you guys know that Gary Sheffield is an agent now? Because I just looked up Jason Grilli, and it says agent Gary Sheffield. And I was like, Gary Sheffield is an agent? Maybe it's a different Gary Sheffield. But according to his Wikipedia, in retirement, he is a sports agent. I did not know that at all.
I did not know that either.
I can't say I knew that. I know his son was draft eligible this year.
Yeah.
Noah Sheffield, who has the bat wag too. He's got the waggle
he does.
too.
He does. It's very good. As a high school player, correct?
Yeah, I saw him last year in the PDP league, and he caught everybody's attention because he immediately looks like his father.
Right.
But
he is committed to play.
Don't believe he got drafted. Yeah.
Committed to play at Florida State. He is he's a 2024 grad. Yeah, I had no idea that his dad was an agent. That's amazing. Or maybe he was, back. Jason Grilli retired a little while ago at this stage in his career. His last game was in 2017. I don't know. Maybe Gary Sheffield's still swinging it as an agent with the bat wag. Man, nice work. Nice work, you dudes. Jason Grilli, great guess. Tyler Clippard, the correct answer. Good work by both you guys, as always. So that's it. That'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Any final thoughts, you two?
No, I mean, good luck on the road, Ben. We'll keep my fingers crossed for you. The no rain dance.
Yeah, no rain. Blind Melon, no rain.
Great song. Great music video.
Yeah. So that itinerary in full, real quick. July 26th, down Eastwood Ducks. Saturday the 27th, Durham Bulls, iconic. 28th, Greensboro Grasshoppers, Sunday afternoon. Then a little Appy League interlude on the 29th and 30th with Burlington and Danville playing each other. We have a Burlington at Danville game and a Danville at Burlington game, seeing the Burlington Sock Puppets and Danville Otterbots. So first time I've hit a non-affiliated park. Well, I guess really ever, but it'll be the third time I've actually been to Burlington and Danville. And then finally, Winston-Salem Dash on Wednesday, July 31st. And I've been to every single current minor league ballpark. The ballpark that has the longest gap between visits is Winston-Salem.
Wow.
2011.
That would have been the same trip in which we met for the first time, I think.
Yeah, it was.
In Myrtle Beach as well.
In Myrtle Beach in that same trip, yeah. So
I remember you wrote a story about how we had 3 outfielders all named Jared. We had a starting outfield alignment of 3 dudes named Jared. Jared Prince, Jared Hoying, and Jared Bolden.
That is awesome. I'd forgotten that too. I got to go back in these archives. I also remember interviewing Chris Butterball, the
The
legendary
greatest,
groundskeeper,
the king, and North Carolina resident. I think he still lives in Greenville, if I remember correctly. When you are in Winston-Salem, please take a picture with Bolt and send it to me, because I don't quite love anything in sports the way I love the Winston-Salem Dash mascot Bolt. So
will
if you
do.
could,
I will.
please,
I will do that for you, Tyler.
as I try to get my Bolt hat off of the wall. All right, that's it. We got a bunch to cover with Ben's trip coming up. Travel safe, enjoy it. Sam, you do the same. And to all of you, thanks for tuning in on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. We'll catch you next week.